Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Hani Ismail from Planning Engineer website. We are trying our first live here. It is about planning discussion in YouTube. So, hello everyone. How are you doing? Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm testing this live as to check if it is visible to do some live sessions on YouTube. And I titled this YouTube live as planning discussions. So I would like to hear your questions about planning. Let's see what is questions in your head about planning and how to do planning in construction projects. You can hear the voice, right? Very good. I know it is not good time for people this morning. That's why I chose this time just to test the live settings. So, how many of you is a planning engineer actually? Are you all planning engineers? Yeah, good. I see the feedback that the sound is going on. However, I believe the response is getting a little bit delayed. Thank you, Mr. Saddam Hussein. We have here one question from Mr. Faisal. Can planning engineer work in any sector apart from energy sector, like IT sector or in other business units? Good. Planning engineer is actually when he work in construction field. The construction field is the most complicated industry. As per latest study, that is the most complicated study. So if you manage to be a planning engineer in a construction project, it means you can manage anything actually, any project, any kind of project, IT or whatever other businesses. But you need to understand the scope of work. If you have the ability to understand the scope of work, then it will be very easy for you to do the planning for it. Uh, so planning engineer is, to be honest, is not an easy task. uh, يعني we we have a lot of people working as a planning engineers. This is a real. But how many of them are real planning engineers? This is the point. Because a planning engineer does not equal to Primavera. This is something, and planning is something else. Planning engineer should involve skills in communications. It should involve skills on planning, skills on management. So planning engineer is not only someone who knows Primavera and some Excel formulas and that's it. No, he should be also aware how to collect the data from people because it is very important. Uh, يعني if you are able to gather the data, do you think that the planning engineer know everything? I mean, if you are a civil planning engineer, are you supposed to understand the MEP? Do you supposed to understand the electrical, mechanical, plumbing, and the other trades? Definitely not. But in order to be a good planning engineer, you should be able to collect the data from the relevant parties. What I mean by relevant parties, you sit with the electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, or whoever, understand the scope of work, then understand the sequence of the activities, then you will be able to do even a nuclear project here. Doesn't matter what is the project. Yeah, to understand the workflow exactly. Johnny is asking question, sir, can you share MPR format? What is MPR format? I don't know what you mean. If you can elaborate more, then I might help. Learning easy, but after completing a project, how to update project as per project update design, as it isn't every day changing. Kindly suggest for update progress and how to make baseline. Okay, this is very good question. Updating progress. Okay. From my experience, you have one of two options. You will be you will be faster than the project, or you will be slower than the project. What I mean, if you are doing the planning tasks faster than the progress on site, then you will be in full control of your project planning. But if you are slower than their progress, it means it takes from you 1 month to create a revised schedule, and once you finish, the work already changed. We all know that the frequency of the construction activity is too fast. So if you are very slow, okay, you cannot have a fixed picture to work on it. Coming back to the updates, in my projects, I use some templates very easy to update. So I'm giving to the document controller or the engineers, and they check these updates and they send back to me. When they send back to me, it takes from me half an hour to update the project. It shouldn't take more than this. Okay. Uh, uh, so if you coming back to your question, the update or the sequence of work doesn't match the baseline, very simply change the baseline. You should be able to change the baseline in few hours to cope of the changes. If you did it correctly from the beginning, I mean what here, if you did it correctly from the beginning, when you create a baseline, you should link all the BOQ activities, you should link the costs and the resources in a smart way. So whenever you change something in this, all the cost, resources, and these time-consuming tasks will be done in a short period of time. So if you did the baseline correctly from the beginning, then you have nothing to worry about it. Mr. Assam is asking one question: how can we solve the issue related to revising the baseline schedule and using the AV in case the scope is usually not clear? Okay. I will not continue reading the question until I reply your point. Here, the scope is not clear. It means you cannot do anything. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. So the first thing you need to 100% understand the scope of work. Sit with the engineers. Do more efforts at the beginning to understand your project. It doesn't matter if you understand the scope of work or not, but it matters to make some efforts to sit with the concerns people to understand it. At the end of the day, you should understand the scope of work. If something not clear for you, just Google it. Uh, Type the activity name and Google it in the to see how it's look like, and ask the engineers. Okay, we can accept a couple of activities not clear while we are creating the baseline, but later on, if we knew what is it and how it will impact our project, and then we can reschedule our baseline and do it in a proper way. The number of activity always changes. It's still in the engineer some question. How come the number of activities always changing? I don't think so. Unless you have a major change order. If you have a major change order in your project, then yes, we can change the baseline accordingly. Um, Engineer Faisal is asking future scope of planning engineer apart from project engineer manager. Planning engineers, the normal sequence of planning engineer is junior planning. Actually, he should start as site engineer for a couple of years or something like this. Then he can be a junior planning engineer, then senior planning engineer, then project manager, then a company manager, planning manager, and then project and control manager. Project and control, it means he has some tasks to do with the courses as well. So this is the sequence I in my head. يعني. In the project engineer, he will end up project manager or projects manager in the company. And usually the planning engineer, even in the salary, is more than the project engineer. Mr. Sunil is asking how to become planning engineer. How to become planning or project engineers. There are different between planning and project. Planning engineer is related to project management, how to create schedules, follow up, and something like this. But project engineer is involved more in the construction part. How to calculate productivity of labor of steel fabrication, which including cutting, welding, and finishing. The best source of information to know the productivity rate is from the source. Let's say you have a huge project, or not a huge, it doesn't matter, not necessarily a huge, but you have a project with some special items like steel. I will go to the steel company. What is your productivity rate? How many tons you can produce per day? What is the crew required? Then they will give me this information. I'll put it in my planning and start monitoring it. I don't take it يعني, as a fact. I take it as a reference. Then while I'm doing the updates and so on, I refer back to their productivity rates and I'm checking if it is correct or not. Engineer Faisal is asking about some certification equivalent to PMP of PMI. Why equivalent? Why don't take PMP itself? PMP, in my opinion, it is very good for a planning engineer. If I'm not mistaken, it should be a must for a planning engineer because it gives you the planning concept. So the planning concept, imagine you are working with different cultures. You are from Egypt, working from someone from India, and the other one from Pakistan. Then we have the manager or the site engineer maybe from UK. If you don't understand the concept, the overall concept of project management, then how you can deal with them? When they say stakeholders, for example, what is the meaning of stakeholders? If you don't know the PMP definitions, you will feel like you are not 100% confident. But if you study PMP, and I strongly advise you study PMP, then you will know what is the stakeholders, what does it mean, change order, what is involved. You will feel more confident and more comfortable to talk with other people. Key performance indicators. Can you? This is all my life. KPI is very. I 100% agree with you. Why it is important? Because I always like to do my reports at the top level. Then down, like I create a KPI that tells me something, okay? And then, okay, after I see a problem or something not logic, I start analyzing. Like I was just a few minutes ago was doing for a project the shop drawing submittals. I found that the review under review shop drawings for the consultant is very high. I found this using one of the KPIs, but I didn't notice this until I created the KPI chart. Then after this, I start investigating what is the problem in the shop drawing submittals, what is the problem in this one. So KPI is a must. Yeah, yes, you should do the KPI. What is the meaning of KPI? It could be a table, it could be a chart, it could be whatever according to your project. It is not something fixed. Uh, I think I will, as I told you, it was not planned live, and I am very happy to see you interested in this live. If you are interested to do more live, please let me know, and I will be sure that uh, you will get the notification before it, so you can schedule your time. But before going, I would like to ask you one questions for the people who are watching me live now and later on when the video is published on YouTube. How many of you is really knowing about Teams, Microsoft Teams? Do you know about it? Do you work with it in your organization? Please let me know in the comments. And if you would like to know more about Teams, let me know also. Maybe I will prepare something for you. Thank you very much. It was nice to be live with you. I'll be participating with you in a short time. Thank you very much.